Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's seminar on Cyber Essentials, protecting your business against cyber attacks. Nice to see a few familiar faces in the audience today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Evelyn Williams, and I'm from In2secure. We are a cyber solutions company based in the outskirts of Northampton, and we're a certification body for the Cyber Essentials scheme. My role in the company is a Cyber Essentials advisor, and that basically means that I advise companies on achieving Cyber Essentials, and I mark applications as they come through. So today we're going to do a whistle-stop tour of Cyber Essentials. We'll start off with some of the more common threats, the impacts of those threats. We'll go through the Cyber Essentials scheme, and then I'll signpost some tools and some free information that you can go and have a look at to provide you some more information about cybersecurity in general. Okay, so let's look at two of the common cyber threats. Ransomware, which is a type of malicious software designed to block access to your computer system until a sum of money has been paid. It's effectively like somebody walking into your office, bolting the door from inside and asking you to pay money to get back in. Another common attack is phishing, and this is the fraudulent practice of sending emails pretending to be from an official company and hopefully getting some personal information such as your passwords or your credit card details from you. All phishing attacks have some commonality to them. So they will all look like they're coming from a professional company. They will all have an attachment or a link of some sort. They will all ask for you to do something. So download the link, click open an attachment, and they will all have some sort of time limit based on. There's always an urgency about it, and that's to encourage you to act without thinking. Phishing attacks have become much more prevalent, particularly since COVID times, and in fact, there's been a number of very recent high-profile cyber attacks that you might be aware of. Arnold Clark Cars have recently announced that they've been subject to a cyber attack and lost the personal details, including passwords and bank details, of a large number of their customers. Royal Mail, in the last couple of weeks, were the subject of a ransomware attack which prevented them from sending mail overseas. Their whole overseas systems were completely locked up. And I believe JD Sports have also recently announced that they've had a cyber attack. So you're probably thinking, well, they're all very big companies, so why would they pick on me? Why would cyber criminals be after my details? Because I'm only a small business. But quite honestly, because you're a small business, you've got fewer IT resources than the large companies. You're less likely to have an in-house expert to guide you through your IT security or the after effects of a cyber attack. And so your defenses are typically seen as being less sophisticated and easier to penetrate, so you become a soft target for cyber criminals. Most organizations will think that they're not going to be targeted by cyber criminals, but in fact, most cyber criminals are opportunistic. They will use automated attacks and they exploit poorly protected targets. That means sending hundreds of phishing emails out on the hope that somebody will click an email, or looking for systems that have got vulnerabilities that are known and that they haven't patched those vulnerabilities. So how prevalent are cyber attacks? Well, this is the Hiscox Cyber Readiness Report from 2023. For those of you who don't know, Hiscox are an insurance company, and they've come up with these quite staggering figures, really. So 48% of companies reported a cyber attack in the past 12 months, and that is up from 43% the previous year. 1 in 5 firms attacked said their solvency was threatened, and that's an increase of 24% from the previous year. 19% of all the respondents reported a ransomware attack, and that's up 16%. So ransomware really is on the increase at the moment. And of those 19% of respondents, 2/3 of the firms paid up for that ransom attack. The median cost for an attack has risen 29% to just under £14,000. Quite scary figures when you start thinking about it. So what is the impact to your business of a cyber attack? And there are a number of them. Your first one is going to be reputational damage, because if you've lost your customers' data, you will lose your customers' trust. And that will lead to a loss of your sales, and obviously then a reduction in your profits. Let's face it, if you know that JD Sports had lost your data, would you want to go back shopping with them? It's that simple. There is also then the financial loss that can be included. So theft of your corporate or financial information, and this is particularly in, for example, a ransomware attack. If you can't access your corporate data, then you can't perform your task, your business. So, for example, the Royal Mail attack, where they physically could not perform their business until that attack was sorted. It disrupts your trade, and it can lead to a loss of either your business or contracts. And finally, you've got the legal consequences, which a lot of businesses don't really think about. And this is where you can face fines and regulatory sanctions. So, for example, if you've got a big enough attack and you lose enough data, you will have to inform the Information Commissioner's Office, that's the ICO, and they then might decide that you're due to have a fine because of that. So, how can you protect your business? Let me introduce you to Cyber Essentials. Cyber Essentials is a UK government-backed scheme, and it's supported by the National Cyber Security Centre, that's the NCSC, and I'll mention those quite often as we go through this talk. It's there to help organisations effectively establish 5 core controls that have been shown to prevent the most cyber attacks. And the scheme has been designed to help organisations demonstrate their commitment to cybersecurity. And while its approach is simple and affordable, 2 key things for small businesses. So what are these 5 core controls? We're looking at firewalls, secure configuration, patch management, access control, and malware protection. And we're going to go through each one of those so you can understand what is required for the certification. So, firewalls. To achieve Cyber Essentials certification, you need to ensure that your firewalls sit at your network boundary, and that's between the internet and your network devices. You need to ensure that it doesn't let anything in unless there is a specific business requirement to do so. And if that's the case, you need to document that requirement and you need to review it on a regular basis. You also need to ensure that your controls are applied to both your physical and your software firewalls. So what does that really mean? Well, a firewall is a device that sits near to where your phone line comes into your office. So if you're at home, think of things like your BT Home Hub. Or potentially a TP-Link. These are all kind of firewalls that will come as standard with your internet connection. And by default, most of the firewalls will be on. You just need to check that they're on. Okay? If you do incoming incoming connections, you need to document why you need them, and then you need to review those. And I would suggest every 6 months reviewing why you've got incoming connections to on your firewall. A software firewall works in exactly the same way, but it is on the device that you're using. So if you've brought your laptop with you today, that will have a software firewall on it. Windows Defender is a good example of that if you're using a Windows machine. Again, they're automatically set by default to be on, but you should check it. And you need to make sure that you change the default password on all those firewalls. A default password means that it is publicly known, so if you know it, everybody else knows it, including criminal hackers who will use that information to access your firewall and change settings if they wish to. I always like to think of your firewall as your security guard. He's on the outside of your property, checking everybody who comes in. And as standard, nobody gets into your office. So if you're working in a small office and you're not accepting visitors, your security guard will stop everybody from coming in. Now, you might have your mum coming next week, so you're going to tell your security guard, "Mum's coming, this is her name, let her in, otherwise I'll be in trouble." Once your mum's not visiting anymore, you need to then tell your security guard, "Right, no more visitors anymore, that's it, we're back to normal." And your firewall is exactly the same. You can change the settings, but you need to know why, and you need to then review that if you need to. Okay. Moving on to secure configuration. For this, you need to remove unrequired software and configure built-in services. You should remove or disable any unused accounts, change your default passwords, disable auto-run, and set an access PIN or password to unlock your devices. So what does this really mean? Your aim is to reduce your level of vulnerability by reducing the amount of software that you have on a device. Every new device that you buy comes preloaded with a whole load of unnecessary applications and software, and services, which can provide a cyber attacker the opportunity to gain access to that device. So make sure you've gone through, removed anything that you don't need, change the default passwords. As we said, hackers will know what that is, and setting a PIN or a password to unlock your device can help protect it. So if, like we've been talking about today, if you've brought your laptop with you, if I can open your laptop and get access straight onto your information, your business information, that means when you lose that laptop, somebody can access your information. So having a PIN or a password on it will help with that. Patch management. For this, you need to check that your software is still supported by the vendor, and you need to enable your software to automatically update, or if you can't do that, you need to apply those patches within 14 days. So as we probably all know, software is continually evolving, and the vendors or manufacturers are always working to improve the security of their products. Microsoft, a classic example of this, where you'll get constant updates regular updates from Microsoft that you need to apply. So once they find a vulnerability in their system, they will develop the patch to fix that. Once they've announced that patch, that means the hackers will also know about the vulnerability, and they will deliberately look for devices who have not had the patch applied to attack them. So applying patches quickly means that the software you're using is as secure as it can be. Access control. Okay, for this one, you need to use a standard user account with least privilege. An administrator account should not be used for day-to-day activities, and it should be limited to only those who need it. MFA, or multi-factor authentication, should be set up on all your cloud services. So by making sure that your user accounts only have access to the information that they need, you're reducing the risk of that information being lost, damaged, or stolen. Administrator accounts have got special privileges, so they can do things that a standard user can't. They can install software, they can create user accounts, they can delete things, and they can lock files. When malware is introduced to a device, it assumes the privileges of the user who has installed it. So if you've installed it as an administrator, that malware also has administrator privileges, which means it can do much more damage than if it was installed under a standard user account. And I often think about the access control as if you had a shop and you had somebody working for you on a Saturday morning, they'd have access to your customers and they'll probably have access to your stock. You're not going to give them access to your accounts package or your tax returns or the product that you're developing because they don't need it. And the same applies to your IT systems. If somebody doesn't need access to a particular set of files to do their job, then they shouldn't have it. You should also know who has got admin access and what they're using it for. So they should have an administrator account to do their admin work, and they should have a standard user account to do their day-to-day work like web browsing and sending emails. Our final one, malware protection. And this kind of just makes sense. Anti-malware software needs to be installed and it needs to be updated daily. You can also create a list of approved software that is permitted on your mobile devices. So mobile devices don't necessarily have anti-malware solutions. So using an approved software list helps protect your mobile devices. So malware is basically software that has been written and distributed deliberately to perform malicious acts. Potential sources for that are email attachments, downloads, and also direct installation. So somebody literally coming with a USB stick and putting it into your device to infiltrate that with malware. You can protect yourself by installing the anti-malware software and only using trusted software, and that's called an allow list. Okay. So the anti-malware, what it does is it basically it looks for that malicious software, and because that software has been developed constantly, you need to update your anti-malware software so that it always knows what is the most recent malware that it needs to look for. Okay. If you don't do that and a new piece of malware comes out, your anti-malware software won't know about it and it won't find it on your system, so you won't be protected. Okay. Look, for cyber protection to work properly, it's not about putting one single control in place. You need to put all 5 controls in place to make sure that you are protected. So for example, you might put your firewall on, but if you haven't changed the default password in this as part of your secure configuration, then that can be vulnerable. So it's all about making sure that you layer your controls. So what are the benefits of the Cyber Essentials scheme? Well, probably the big one that everybody's looking for is protection. Cyber Essentials will protect you from approximately 80% of cyber attacks, because most cyber attacks are untargeted, so that's what they'll be looking for. You can also claim free cyber insurance up to £25,000. That comes as part of the certification. It gives you an increase it can increase your chance of securing new business. So for example, if you and your competitor are both looking for the same business, by saying, I've got Cyber Essentials, I'm looking after my customers' data, that gives you an extra sort of benefit there. And you can also apply to work for local government and Ministry of Defence contracts. To do either of those, you must have Cyber Essentials. That's something that the UK government have been keen to develop over the last number of years. So, we've kind of whizzed through this today, but I've got a couple of free tools and useful links where you can find some more information about Cyber Essentials or cybersecurity in general. Most of these will refer to NCSC, that's the National Cyber Security Centre, mainly because they are the government basis for all sort of cybersecurity details, but they also do link out to other places, so it'll link you out to more information if you require. The first one I've sort of highlighted here is the exercise in a box. This is a great tool for you to try out a cyber attack. So it basically puts together a cyber attack for you, and it runs through a scenario on how you would deal with that. So it lets you practice your response to a cyber attack. It's free to use. You just go onto the website, NCSC, exercise in a box, and sign up for that one. NCSC also provide an early warning service that you can sign up for. This is quite a new tool that they've developed. It basically scans networks for malware and threats that it is aware of. If that is available in the network that you're on, it will alert you so that you know that there's something you need to sort of be watching out for in case there is an attack imminent. NCSC also provide small business training. Now, this is really useful either for yourself or if you've got a small team. There are a set of videos with questions and answers. Each set is sort of set out into a particular theme, so it will deal with firewalls or it will deal with phishing. So it's a great tool, very interactive and very easy to use. For our business owners, NCSC provide the Small Business Guide. It'll just give you an overview of the kind of cybersecurity posture that you should have and the kind of things you should do to protect your business from a cyber attack. We have developed our own cybersecure assessment. That's on our website. Again, it's a free tool, 11 questions. If you go through those questions, it will provide a report for you which will detail what your cyber posture is like, any improvements that you can make, and give you some contact details for us should you wish to find out a little bit more. And finally, you can subscribe to the NCSC's Threat Alert, and that gives you regular security updates. I think it's probably at least monthly that they come out, and it'll just let you know what's going on, what's the kind of threat levels, and what to expect. Okay, and that is us. That's a whirlwind tour of Cyber Essentials. I hope you found it useful. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to take some, but if not, it's been a pleasure to speak to you today, and I hope to see you all soon.